Hi, Facebook world, online world, whoever you are, whoever you're watching this, if you're watching it live or some other time. Don't mind the wind. I hope it's not too bad. I just wanted to get on here for a second and share something with you. I've really been thinking a lot lately. Well, I'm always thinking about something, but I've really been thinking a lot lately about our perceptions of people and who they are to us and their influence in our life. And it just got me to thinking about something that I don't know exactly where it came from. I don't know. Let me back up. I remember when I was 11. I believe I was 11. I remember living with my grandparents at the time. And I hadn't always lived with my grandparents, but I did at the time. And I was living with them. And I remember my grandpa was very different. He parented very different and led and guided very differently than my dad. In some ways, very similar. They were, could be short-tempered at times or upset or or get agitated at things easily. But they always showed me love and grace, both of them, my dad and my grandpa, both. But my grandpa had this gruffness about him, he could love you to pieces one minute and the next minute he could be kind of a total asshole. And he made you feel so small and so little sometimes in the way that he dealt with you. And it was so confusing because at 11, you're like, okay, so this guy is super awesome. I mean, he does things for me that my own parents don't do, or he shows me love in a way that my own parents don't do, or commits to things in a way that my own parents hadn't. Not that my own parents didn't, it was just different. So what I'm getting at is at 11 years old, can remember coming home from events or school or hanging out with friends or whatever, and it could have been a little bit later at that time, but I remember specifically around 11. And he would, like I said, he was so rough and he could be so mean at times, is how I took it when I was young. But now I see that he had intention. He had good intention. He was trying so hard to teach me better than I was being taught, or to teach me better than he was taught, or something. And I don't know exactly, because I'm really just diving into this thought, but my thing more so than anything is the fact that I didn't like him. I remember at 11 years old, I loved him to death, but I would sit in my bed at night and do my prayers and want everybody to bless I'd pray to God, bless my family, bless my grandpa, bless my friends, bless this and that. But previous to that prayer, I literally would sit in bed at night and be like, you know what? That guy's a jerk to me. He's such an asshole. And I would shit talk my grandpa for literally like 10 minutes on just how shitty he was to me. And why did he always have to call me out on my flaws? And why did he have to this? And why was he so strict? And why was he... And then finally one day it hit me. And I realized that he was trying to do something better. He was trying to help me. He was trying to let me see, because he was never belittling me. He was never telling me what to do. For example, and for instance, he used to always tell me, it's just as easy to be 2 minutes early as it is to be 2 minutes late. And I used to think, well, no, it's not. If I could be 2 minutes early, I would have been here 2 minutes ago, not 2 minutes after 10. And I never understood that until I got older, and it was like, oh, sorry about that. It was if I give a shit. If I give a shit, I can be here 2 minutes early, and if I don't give a shit, I can be here 2 minutes late. And so his point was trying to teach me, why don't you give a shit that I asked you to be here at 10, not 10:02? But his delivery was what was the problem, and his delivery was because he was my grandpa. He shouldn't have been raising me necessarily, so he resented that. So he came across in this resentment and this anger because he was doing a job that wasn't his job to have to do, but because he loved me, he took the responsibility. So in that responsibility, he was being angry and short and gruff with me, and I was missing some of the lessons because he wasn't owning that he took on the choice. So whether it was his responsibility or not, he chose to let me live with him. He chose to let me be in his home, and he chose to raise me. So he faulted in that, because then he resented it to some degree, I suppose, maybe, and that's where his anger came from. But the biggest thing was, one day I finally had to just stop, and I stopped and decided, you know what, I could sit here and cuss my grandpa every night and talk about how shitty he is and why he's so mean to me, or I could just not. And I didn't know why at the time. I just knew it wasn't right. It was wrong. It was wrong for me to sit there and say those things, even though I felt that way. So I just decided, I made a choice to love my grandpa no matter what. And I don't, like I said, I don't know why at 11 that kicked in, but I decided, you know, instead of sitting here and talking about all the horrible things that I think about my grandpa, I could just not, even though I don't understand it and I don't like that he's doing this. So I decided every night instead of that I was just gonna, you know, ask for grace to love my grandpa, and give him consideration for something he's doing he shouldn't necessarily have to be doing. And like I said, I didn't understand it, but I just decided to make a choice. I decided to love my grandpa, even though I didn't really know how, because he was mean and he could be rude and this and that, but he could also be so loving and so sweet and so embracing. So the point I'm making is, even in all this ramble, is you can choose. You can pretty much choose anything you want. And at 11 years old, somewhere inside of me, I wanted to love my grandpa so bad that, despite the fact that I was living in his house, and despite the fact that he shouldn't have to be raising me, and despite the fact that he had his own resentments or his own lack of clarity around his choices and what that meant, you know, I just decided to choose to love him, even though I didn't know why. And I chose not to have an attitude with him, even though I kind of didn't know why. It was just this inner, I just wanted to love him. So at 11 years old, I chose to have a different perspective. And it did. It changed my perspective on my grandpa forever. Was he always super nice? No, he could still be such a jerk. But I didn't have the same feelings towards him. And that was really the whole point, was the feeling behind it. He was still the same guy. I just felt differently. And it was a conscious choice. I chose to feel different. I chose to choose feelings over actions or understanding or anything else at the time. And that led me so much in life. And now, as I'm older and I look back, I can see where so many times in my life, when I've stopped and looked at the situation and why I was feeling the way I was and put clarity around it, even if I don't know why I'm feeling that way, but I can address that I don't know why, well, then I can choose to behave differently. And when you can decide that you no longer want to choose to hate on somebody for reasons you don't really understand, then it creates clarity. So now, as I've gotten older, I can stop and do that same thing in so many situations in life, or people in life, and then it focus back, and it removes so much struggle to be able to know why you're hating on somebody, so to speak, or not hating on somebody, or having a problem with something, when you can just stop and be like, wait, what is my problem? And if you don't know, then lose the problem. And at 11, that's what it was. I didn't know what the problem was. I just knew I had one, and who needs to be hating on their own grandpa at 11? I did. But I figured out it was at 11, that was fucked up, and I quit. And it taught me so many other lessons in life that, even at the time, not understanding why I was hating on him and not understanding that I could quit, now I can see where I did that. And that it was a choice, and it changed the feelings and associations I had with him for the rest of my life. Whereas I could have taken the fact that he had been put in a position of parenting me that he didn't have to be in, that he chose, that my parents had put him in. You know, I looked at it totally different, as opposed to just taking the brunt of what he was doing. I had some understanding and took a different perspective and made a choice. And it changed my feelings towards him. Anyway, just a couple minutes there, giving you a perspectival thing on your feelings, that it's all choice, you know, and nobody feels your feelings for you, and nobody can think them for you, and you're the only one that can. So if you want to feel different about something, do it. Change the way you feel. It's literally that easy. It's so easy, it's stupid, but it is how it works. I once couldn't stand my husband, I'll tell you that. I couldn't stand the man I'm married to, that I love so much right now, and I would do anything for him, and I will be anything for him that aligns with who I am. But there was a point in life in our marriage where I couldn't stand him. Is he a totally different guy now? Not really. I mean, he is so different. There's so many things about him that are different, but He's not a different guy. I'm different. And my tolerance for him is different. But it's not a tolerance. It's a love. And it's a love that has been created by looking at things differently and making clear choices. And just choosing exactly that, to stop hating on other people for their problems and looking at my own. And the more I look at my own problems and the more I dig into myself and the more shit I fix on the inside, the less problems I have with everybody else. So it can be a long road, but it doesn't have to. And even though my road, so to speak, or my journey of looking at things like this has started so long ago, it's only really gotten clearer in the last few years. So if you're struggling and hating on people and you just have resentments and things that hold you up, there's a way out of it, and it's all by choice. So choose not to hate, choose not to judge, choose not to think you know where somebody's coming from, and just choose your feelings. And if you love someone, love them. Don't try and think of everything they might be thinking and feeling, or don't base what you think or feel off of their actions. It has nothing to do with them, and that's all about expectation. And when you lose the expectation and you just go about feeling it, it's a much better, happier world. So I'd advise to check your feelings and choose your feelings, because it literally is like that. Choose what it is in life you do and don't want, and it makes the feeling part so much better and easier. So anyway, I love you guys, and I hope that helps a little bit. So see you later. Bye.